Welcome, my friends, to another episode of the Car Biz Chronicles. It has been an unbelievable season up till now, and I've been looking forward to today's show for a while. Someone I followed, someone who is, working locally in an area that I grew up in. It's actually where I leased my first Honda back, 2002, maybe 2001. Either way, everyone, please welcome the marketing man himself. And I think all things crypto and meta. When I think of those two things, which I know nothing about, I think of our next guest today, David Rozek. David, how are you, man?
I'm doing fantastic. And you, Sean?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So look, man, we've been kicking this off the same way every episode. So we'll make it the same for you, David. Today, we ask you, what does culture mean to you?
Culture means a lot of different things to me. But in my Motorworks family, for example, it's a little different because we're kind of into empowering each other. That kind of lets you go on and do the things that works. And there's not a lot of stumbling blocks. We have a very entrepreneurial leadership, and they're very proactive on you learning extra things. They never hold you back. If there's something that makes sense to you to do, they support you. There's no finger pointing. There's no silos. It's just, we're on the same team together. We're going to try different things. If it works, it works. If not, we just move on. At some point we try things together and we make it work as a team. But if we finger point something and say, hey, this task doesn't need to be done, let's just skip that and let's move on to what really works for us and what our customers, need. So we're very customer driven. We're very into a lot of events, a lot of charity events, a lot of into promoting from within. A lot of the staff and people that have been there in the group have been there for a long time. And a lot of our core managers and executive team have all been around the group for a long time. I'm probably one of the newer members. When COVID started, I came aboard there. They had the foresight to say, hey, we're going to hire you at the beginning of COVID when our dealerships are closing, and we're going to have you work from home and kind of help guide our ship, through this difficult time. And we put a plan together. We had a very good message to put out to our customers and how we would do business with them, how we would still take care of them, how we would pick up their cars. It was just sorry, I got my dogs in the background.
Hey, no, man. See, everybody's excited about culture. Dogs hear it, they're empowered. It's all good. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I just, it is, they're all downstairs with me, and I bet you my wife is getting home right now. So that being said, sorry, Sean.
Good, dude.
Yeah, they're gonna, anytime anybody comes home, it's like they whine and jump on you and they hug you. And
it's genuine excitement, dude. I wouldn't change it for the world. I have been without my two pups for quite a long time. And it's one of those things that I certainly miss that part of it. Look, you talked about one thing that's really stood out to me already with you guys. Obviously, being hired during COVID is crazy. And I'll say this, man, you've really ingrained yourself there, because when you said when you got there, I was kind of shocked. I feel like you've been at Motorworks a long time. I just, and maybe it's because the last year and a half has felt longer to all of us, maybe. But you really took the brand and adopted it as your own from like get one, And one of the things that stood out to me recently that you've been doing on the community event side is those movie nights, dude. Talk to me about movie night. How did we get to movie night, and what does it mean to you all? And do you plan on continuing?
So we've already kind of put in the works of our plans for next year for a lot of our marketing events. We have a movie night tentatively planned right now for the third week of July. And we usually start putting that out, to a lot of our customer base. We have customers that say, hey, put us on your list. We're interested in attending. Now, the movie nights we've done really in the past year, probably year and a half, have been really kind of more around family night and, bringing families together. We bring in different vendors. We have a popcorn machine there. We have ice cream bars that we give out. We usually show some pretty cool movies that are, kid friendly. I think our next one, we're going to do one for adults though. I think we're going to do more of a car movie that's more adult friendly, more of a date night type of thing.
Cool.
And if it's up to me, I'm going to get like the beer truck or something there, or we're going to do a little wine tasting and watching a little movie. But, we're going to have to wristband so the drivers can't drink. But I'm
Sure.
working on that. So, I mean, we're always doing events. I mean, we probably sponsor about 80 different charitable events a year.
And where
And
does this come from, David? Where does you've been there for over a year and a half? Where do you watch these concepts and ideas emanate from? Is it the top? Is it the middle? Is it all sides pushing it up? Talk to me about, because this isn't, look, man, when I worked at my last group, the coolest thing we were doing was my owner was already wealthy before he got in the car business. So he really was like, guys, let's do what makes sense. It makes sense. I want to be part of the community. So we went out to the humane societies. We had dog adoptions. We made a best relationship with the humane society. And it was from all of us talking and him just saying, absolutely, let's go. And he was already a big name in the community. So it was easy for people to see him and be a part of it. Well, how does that all come together at Motorworks for 80 plus events a year?
so a lot of those events are golf outings, they're car shows, they're all kinds of different things, from adoption events, like you said. There's a lot of different things that we sponsor and just get involved in the community. The thing is that having 6 different tops and having different things that like BMW does with their test drive events for feeding America and that type of thing. And then, Porsche has these wonderful rallies and things that we do for charity. And we do all kinds of different functions. Like right now we're collecting for Toys for Tots, and we're doing something for Barrington Giving Days, which is a charity in itself, collecting coats for the homeless and collecting, things for veterans and, in veterans homes. I mean, but all this comes from everywhere. It comes within the bottom of the group to the middle of the group to the top of the group. And to be honest with you, it's just living in the circle. Being in the Motorworks circle kind of means that it doesn't really matter where you're at in the circle. You're part of the circle, and your message, your feelings, the things in the community, we want to be involved with you. We want to be involved with your little league team. We want to be involved with cheerleaders. We want to help the high school. We want to help your church. We want to do everything that we can within reason. And we have a board. We actually have a place on our group website where people go and they make requests all the time of us. And our board meets and they do it. And they do all kinds of wonderful things. It blows me away, some of the things that they do. We don't ever put a lot of it out there, though. We put very little advertising about what we do and what we sponsor. We don't, like to brag about it. But this is the first group that I've been with that does it to this excess without ever expecting anything in return. They don't care.
That's what I was going to say to you was because they don't brag and they're so humble about it. Yep. It's really intriguing to me to see how big the number gets, because I've seen guys who are much smaller throw much fewer events and shout it from every single rooftop for as high as they can, and it's something my wife has always said to me about, charity is about giving, not about seeing or being seen. And so that's how we operate as well. We try to operate our company in the shadows. Our clients come to us, they ask of us something that's important to them, like you say, within reason. Yeah, dude, our company's going to be down for it. We're going to donate. We're going to the GoFundMe page for maybe something else. But again, I don't go on social media and say, hey, another great donation sent to us for what? Like, I don't get the point of that. Is the executive / ownership team, is that where that humble piece comes from, David? Or is it just, again, kind of how the organization is organically positioned itself?
It comes from the top, but it comes from everywhere. All of our managers, our staff are always very giving and volunteering. I mean, I've never, I was a little tentative when I first started because I'm like, hey, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And all of a sudden, like, everybody stood up and said, yeah, we'll help with this. And I'm like, yeah, everybody always says that, but marketing ends up doing it on their own. I don't, I know how this is. It's kind of like when I was a sales manager and I'd say, hey guys, we got snow today. Well, I'll need to get out there and take the snow off the windows and move the cars and plow the lot. And everybody say, yeah, we'll be there. And it's me and a handful of people. Right.
Right.
We've all been there, and that's okay. Not everybody's wired the same way, but Motorworks culture, completely different. They're always thinking about doing a little bit more and then some. And it's just, I'll be like, hey, we're going to do this sponsorship. We're going to buy some t-shirts. They're like, oh no, let's send this over there and let's do that. And let's do that. And before you know it, it's just a big group thing. And I have a dozen people saying, hey, I'm going to be there with you. Let's hand out some t-shirts. Let's, give away this, let's give away some details, let's give away some gift cards. It's just amazing, but it's not just for the community. Our biggest customer is actually the 350, 400 employees that we encompass, because I've never been around a dealership that does a Pinewood Derby. I mean,
Awesome, dude.
Pinewood Derby for our employees.
I
made this and I took second, and I got to tell you, I was excited. I used to do this for my kids at Cub Scouts, but
absolutely.
we have that monthly barbecue. We have Motorworks Cares. We have a committee where if somebody's in the dealership, their family gets sick or they can't be there, everybody donates their PTO days. Everybody supports them. We do fundraisers internally. We take care of our own, and I've never seen a group that's like this and so compassionate, and it's also different because the owner's doors are open to everybody to talk about stuff. And, as long as you have a logical reason and there's something that we need to do, they'll just say, hey, why don't we just do this for them? And even when I first started, I said, hey, everybody's inside for COVID. We should do something for our customers. They said, let's do a virtual Christmas, concert. So we invited in an opera singer and performer locally named Diva Montel. She came in and she did this wonderful Christmas performance. And we did this hour live streaming, and thousands of people watched it. And, I've never seen a group that's so giving as Motorworks, and yet so humble about it that doesn't really talk about it.
Yeah, because you just don't hear it, man. You really, I can't keep coming back to that enough, because it's really, to me, it's part of it. But you've been to a couple different car shops in your career, David, and so.
But all of them have been pretty good, actually.
Yeah, for sure. But this seems to be something a little bit above and beyond what you've ever experienced. Is that fair to say? I mean, is this group that much different than what you've experienced, even on the most positive things you have had?
Here, my last group, they were pretty good. The group before that too, they were pretty good. But nobody, here, our customers, they're more of a concierge type of dealership. Okay, they're a destination. They're an auto mall. It's not like you drive through town and you have this dealership. We're off the beaten path.
No, dude, I know exactly. It's not easy to find you. It's not like you're just like, it's not like you're on 14. You're like, oh, here's Motorworks as I pass by 14. Like, no, it's like two right turns. And then I'm like, well, how the hell did I get here? Right.
We're in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, for sure. As much as middle of the nowhere can be in Barrington, you have certainly found your way to find it. That's for sure.
It's like to sell 700 to 1,000 cars a month. It's kind of crazy thinking about it, how we're off the beaten path. And majority of our customers, they're referrals, and they're people that have bought from us. Our retention level is super high. People that come to us from all over the place. It's good to have selection and good managers that stock good merchandise too, though. That makes sense. Okay.
Doesn't hurt.
Yeah. It's good to have a one and only process where for of our franchise, it's one price, 1 hour, one person. There's a lot of positives, but here, when you buy from us, you're part of the circle. You have free car washes, you have perks, you have an app, and you gain perks on it. We have a Starbucks cafe inside of the dealership, and we're always giving away stuff, for different prizes and perks levels. So, I mean, they're really about, what type of value are we giving the consumer? It's not just about price. It's about being a good concierge, picking up their car from their house or their work and dropping it off, or they come in, they drop off their car. We get an Uber and we have an Uber pick them, drop them off. We send an Uber to pick you up to get your car. Either way, we're always in that kind of Ritz-Carlton mode.
Yeah.
When you come to Motorworks, it's not just about the price. It is about the care that you get in the service, and that culture is really all about it. And I've never been, my last two groups were good too, don't get me wrong, but these guys take it to the extreme. And I didn't know that things like this existed. I mean, most of the time when you do a car show, like our car show that we did last year, we had thousands of people there come to our car show on a Sunday. And we had all these volunteer employees come and, help with the car show. But we had a caterer cooking. We had an empanada truck. We had cupcakes for courage there. We had the pizza dude there. So we had all this food there, right? And there was no price. We just gave the food away. We gave away thousands of hats, thousands of t-shirts, to come there. We gave away prizes for everybody who showed up. And we do this all in a couple hours. And like I said, it's just wonderful place. We're always on stage, but at the same time, um, it's about the employees, having a good place to work and being in a good culture and making sure the customers are taken care of. I mean, our service writers, you should see the reviews on them. People just go on and on about our service writers, about how wonderful they are. And, they literally get on the phone, talk to people, figure out. The technicians nowadays use virtual tools to kind of diagnose your car. They text you the stuff of what you need done because they pick up the car from you. They get on the phone, they show you via like a FaceTime. The car business has really changed. It's completely different where things are virtual. And as we evolve with the metaverse, it's going to be even bigger,
Yeah.
with all this new blockchain technology and the way things are going. Soon you'll be able to buy a car with Bitcoin in the United States. And, who knows, maybe dealerships will have their own type of Bitcoin as loyalty rewards. Cause I think we're going towards that way where, every business will have its own type of metaverse spot. Every business will have its own type of NFT contracting that'll be kept in the cloud. And then, you'll gain rewards and rebates through either a manufacturer or a dealership based upon a form of Bitcoin that can be applied, towards, you buying a cars from a loyalty standpoint. And
that is
as your upgrade.
Yeah, when you go into that, obviously that is like the next world, right? For a lot of folks. But I want to circle back. A couple of things you talked about. One, you talked about the Ritz-Carlton approach, which I think makes a lot of sense for where you're located, right? I think you are in an affluent area where it makes sense to play that up and be really great at it, not just talk about it, but be really great at it. But I do want to circle back more importantly, because we kind of glossed over this. The 4 franchises with I believe the One Promise, I think. Talk to me about when it came about, how it got developed, and what feedback you're hearing now.
Well, I think it is something that's unique to our area and a lot of our brands in our area. I think that with all good things, the group had kind of looked at other dealerships that did similar things. And a lot of people did a certain part of it. It could be one price. A lot of it did one salesperson. So they did all the negotiating, looked at your trade, did all your paperwork. But we realized that, it didn't make sense to arbitrarily throw a price way up here in the air and then waste your time and my time to negotiate for 3-4 hours when we can just say, hey, that's the price. There it is. So price isn't an objection anymore. Here's your person. We can send you a link. You can fill out all the paperwork. We can look at the trade. We can do all that. With virtual retailing and the tools that we have nowadays, we can get you pre-approved in no time. Obviously, there are just certain credit challenges that different people have, but in general, they can get you in and out of there after you agree to terms within an hour. The only time that changes is when somebody adds something onto the car or we need to upgrade something.
Sure.
But the reality is you're dealing with one person, and it's really the way kind of car buying always should have been. Now, I was very spoiled when I was selling cars. I had an owner that said, hey, I don't have a problem with you ever telling a customer what I own the vehicle for, but you're going to tell them this is what you're selling it for. This is what the price is. This is what I own it for. And this is what I've done to it. Very transparent. And I sold a lot of cars every month. Everybody's like, hey, you average like 30 cars a month. And I'm like, why? Because I don't negotiate. I don't waste people's time. And my time is valuable. My customer's time is valuable. And I think that One and Only provides that. There's no numbers games either to where this is your price. We don't add a bunch of pro packs and all these extra charges on top of it for you to buy the old Rusty Jones type of stuff.
Yeah. And then again, the other part of that though too, man, and that you talk about, when I was selling cars, we talked about growing up there, in the Chicagoland area, man, doing that, people are like, you got to sell all the cars you can. But after my first week, I was like, I can sell 3 times as many cars if you guys didn't waste 4 to 6 hours a car deal, right? You realize that this is a complete waste of my time to do this, and you're inhibiting me from selling cars. And I got a lot of, oh, that's because you don't believe in growth. No, you misunderstood me here. I don't believe in wasting time to get to gross. So here's what I'll say. I don't need to make a 6-pounder because that's not a deal I can help out in 2 years, guys. But if we can make two, make three, maybe we can get them out of the car in 3 years and make sense of it. But if we're just going to high gross everybody today, we will forget about tomorrow really, really easily. And that drives me nuts. So this seems like this really eliminates that, David. When the one price, when does it get brought up? Is it whatever's on the website today? That's the price, and then you just find your one person. Talk to me about the experience from that perspective. And real quickly, when did this start?
So they started this at BMW on this road about 3 years ago. And then it evolved into other franchises within the store. So most of the stuff has kind of been solidified within the last year, but it's been around the Motorworks brand now for 3 years. So I mean, and it's grown. You know, we slowly adopted it and wanted to perfect it and make sure we could do it, because truly what happens is that your salesman is your manager, he's your finance manager, he's your concierge, he's your best friend, he's your delivery coordinator. You know,
does he set up service appointments, David? Is that an extent of that?
Yeah, and then we have different teams that do things as well. We do have concierges within the group, where you have a certain gentleman like at BMW, for example, and they call him and he schedules your appointments for you at that particular store.
Yeah,
and
man.
make sure your car gets picked up and dropped off to you. Now the other stores, they call their salesmen, but at any time you can call our service BDCs and they will schedule time with you to get your car picked up, schedule it all out. I mean, fortunately for us, we're scheduling, and it's like 70% of everybody that comes into our service department, we're picking up their cars or they're dropping off and we're Ubering them home and back. So, I mean, we're always picking up cars every day.
And your service writers sound like they have a similar approach to the salespeople, where they have their clientele, their customer base. Is that fair to say that they take it to that level? That's how they get these reviews, and people come back and schedule service on a day when, say Mike is available. Is that happening because of this culture?
Yeah. When customers call, they actually have their phone numbers directly to their service writers, and they call and they text back and forth. And I think that, having texting with the service writers to the customers back and forth, and even having conversation with the technicians back and forth with the customers, we have such an open kind of an open door there, where it's very transparent, where it's not you're waiting forever. You can always text the service writers, and you have your own personal service writer to work with. And if they're not there, there's always a manager and assistant manager to work with, and your salesperson, your salesperson can quarterback everything for you. But our service BDC, is amazing with their follow-up. They're amazing with their scheduling. And many dealerships are. So, I mean, we're not the only ones that, are perfect this, but, the nice thing is that having kind of a white glove concierge service, where we go out and pick up your car and we customize everything to you. And, when we pick up your car in general, we're going to run it through the car wash and clean it out. We're going to vacuum it. But we do have different levels now of customers who have bought from us for a long time. And on our app, they have certain rewards levels. And those people who have bought X amount of cars, been with us for X amount of time, we do their full details on their car, and they're entitled to free car washes anytime they bring it in and washes. And you got unlimited Starbucks when you're in the store. And I mean, Starbucks isn't cheap. I mean, we see our customers all the time who just stop in, went through the car wash, they're up getting their Starbucks. And it's kind of like a place to hang out.
Yeah, it sounds that way. Look, man, I mean, it sounds like a high level experience, and for a good portion of your brands, I would say that's expected, right? The Porsches of the world, etc. But it's a super benefit to the Honda folks, and it doesn't change for you guys depending on the badge. It sounds like whether you drive a Beamer or a Honda, we concierge you, we white glove you, we treat you right. And I think that's something that a lot of people need to wrap their heads around. And I don't think enough do.
Yeah, I think that we're always amazed when we take in a new Honda customer who bought Hondas or other brands elsewhere, and they're like, "Oh, you picked up my car," and "Oh, I'm getting invited to a movie night," or "Oh, you're inviting me to a racetrack event." And I'm like, yeah, we're going to the Autobahn, but I bought a Honda from you. I says, it doesn't matter. We have a bunch of our cars there. Come on and hang out with us for a couple hours and do an autocross. Bring your wife, and a lot of times, ironically, the wives are usually the ones that enjoy these things the most, going to the racetrack. And we do a lot of different things where it's lead follow and open track, and we just make it fun. From the car shows to the movie nights, to the other events we have at the store, from the concerts and things we're doing, from some of the charity events. Last year we did a first look event because of the car show was so shortened and condensed, and they
Right.
didn't know. So we did our own in February when the car show was supposed to launch. We had our own car show at Motorworks, and we invited hundreds of our customers to come in, and we kind of had our own people walking around cars giving a presentation. We had entertainment there. We did have some craft cocktails there, around. So we kind of made it a first look event. But not a lot of dealerships, are going to go out of their way to do that.
No, they're not. And that's the thing about what you guys do, David, is that you engage yourself with your community and you make it easy for them to find you. It's obviously social media content writes itself, right? For every event you do, dealers always complain about what do I post? What do I say? For you guys, like, hey, just so you know, movie night or whatever the case is, it really helps to be organically relevant. Everywhere you look, you find the name. You mentioned early on, though, about no silos. And that's something that I've believed in for a long time. I hate siloed work. I think it really affects productivity. Can you talk to me a little bit more about what that means to you and what that means at a store level when you say that?
You can approach any department in our group without any scrutiny. It doesn't matter if you're talking to our CFO or you're talking to our service director or our COO, or you're talking to a service manager, a salesman, service writer, from any department. We're not siloed where you're kind of your own department and you kind of do your thing and it's us against them. There's no us against them. It's we. When we have a barbecue together or a track day, or we just have a lunch, like we have our Christmas party coming up at Pinstripes. And it's just all of us getting together, hanging out, having some food, doing a little bowling together. It's just trying to treat your people like people. And you don't point the finger and go, oh, that's service's fault, or that's sales fault, or that's parts fault. There's not any of that that's happening. It's that, hey, we need to get this done. Okay, we didn't hit the mark, but we're, this is what we need to do, fix it. We just talk about it. But, it comes from kind of having an owner that he doesn't like what we call black magic. We don't like to talk negative of each other, and we don't want to do a he said, she said type of stuff. It's just, his big thing is be honest, be honest, be forthcoming, speak your mind. You're never going to be, scrutinized for just saying something that you believe in. But we also have a fun thing of don't pitch just a bitch, have a solution as well.
I mean, I can't stress enough, people. Look, I am here to hear you out, but if you don't have a solution, you're going to need to save it, because I don't have time for bitching. I love that. I actually, one of our first clients ever that's still with us, he's actually good friends with your owner, and the way that they talk about, just talking about him running his business, it sounds the same way you're describing. Where it's just like, look, man, wants you to be a part of it, wants to help, wants to do more. And that is really empowering, which is a word you use to kick us off. Does that, right now, David, do you find people struggling to hire, retain employees, salesmen, service managers, service directors, and mechanics? Is this an issue that you're having, or are you trying to stock up with those trying to make a change?
Here, I think all car dealerships have turnover. And I think we always run ads for looking to improve for better people, or for more people. But we always lose people because, in sales, there's always that personality type that wants to grow, and wants to get to the next level. But a lot of our core people aren't going anywhere. So people learn a lot from us. We teach them, we send them to school, we empower them, and then they learn how to manage other people. And then they move on. Not everybody can be the owner. But we do we work kind of with an ownership who he's kind of like, Mick Austin's unique in the sense that he empowers everybody, wants you to make a decision, and he supports it. But he expects results and reports about it. But he's kind of like a hippie in the way, and a philosopher at the same time. He kind of gives you like the philosophies of the day and the eternal truths of, hey, this is, what we think is the right thing to do.
Yeah, your guys is Phil Jackson, just the Zen leader of the organization, right? Who just
Zen.
Yeah, he just comes down. Look, man, I would have died to work for someone like that. Okay, I spoke very highly of the dude I worked for because I love him to death. But he was not calm. He was not quiet. He did not allow you to work and just have results. It was more than that. The expectations were through the roof, which again, we're in the car business. We all know that the expectation is be better than you were the last 30 days, than you were the last year. I get it. But this sounds like a guy who tries to balance that with some reality too, which I think is valuable.
I mean, we have our own mental health worker in the dealership. So when managers are stressed out or people, not only do we have an excellent HR department to work with you through things, but when you're stressed out, it's unique to go and see, and I don't know what her formal title is or a shrink or whatever, but
hold on. You keep a mental health expert on staff for your team?
Yeah, for our team. So a lot of people have a trainer. We have mental health staff so that you can go and you can talk to them through your issues with managing people or problems with a manager, or, if you're having a disconnect in communication, you just set up a time slot to go talk to her and say, hey, this is the issue I'm having.
I'm blown away, dude. How long has she been on the staff? I mean, let me guess, for like 10 years, and this is an old idea. I mean, how long has she been there?
I think she's only been there really the past year, but I think they've always offered the services before I got there.
Sure.
Because I've heard about it, but I don't think she was there on retainer all the time.
Wow, that's absolutely incredible, because we talk about mental health all the time. Yep. I try to feature it once a month, and the car business doesn't address it. You've got an owner who has that person on staff.
Because he identified it with the stress of COVID and everything that's going on. Somebody would have a problem and, HR would do everything they could to get people into counseling. And then we realized, hey, we need to have somebody here full time to help us deal with these things, because we're not psychiatrists. We're not psychologists. We don't understand the 17 different personality types.
We're car people.
Down the road. We're car people.
Yeah.
We want the baby, but we don't want the labor pains all the time to go with it. Sure. And we don't want to hear about it. We just want to get it done. And many of us, we just pick up the ball and we just scored the touchdown and we don't think about it, but we kind of look around and go, but wait, why aren't you guys scoring touchdowns too?
Yeah.
And then, but we don't know is how to motivate each other and what motivates each other. And we're in a different time in a different place. And everybody talks about millennials and everybody talks about Gen X, Gen Y, and all these things. It's just helping, and to help manage people, you have to be able to have some common ground with them. Yeah. And if you can't find the common ground, you just don't fire that person. You need to find out what's the deeper rooted reason as to why, because you spend all this money to train somebody, they learn all this stuff from you, and next thing you know, you got about $50,000-$60,000 worth of training and investment in that person. And one day somebody says something wrong and they say, hey, you know what, Sean, I need to talk to you today. Come see me at 3:00. Okay. So from 9:00 in the morning to 3:00, that person's screwed over because he's worried about what you want to talk to him. He gets nothing accomplished.
Yep.
If you would have taught that person to say, hey, Sean, I'd like to get together with you around 3:00 this afternoon because I'd like to share some ideas and I'd like to get your input on them so that we can come to some type of different game plan on a few different great opportunities I think that you and I have together. Would that be okay? Well, yeah. Now, me as a controlling personality, I'd say, well, what do you want to talk about?
Yeah, for sure. Because I'm with you. The whole time you're like giving me the second setup, I'm like, yeah, David, but hold on. Either way, I'm going to need to know what we're talking about and why you had to tell me at 9 versus 2:30. I need to understand why we're here. You know what I mean? It's the ex-girlfriend thing. We got to talk like, okay, I know where this is headed. You know what I mean?
You and I, there's always the 80-20 rule.
Yep.
There's 20% of the people that are pulling the ship, and there's 80% that just kind of do things and get things going, and they need help.
Yep.
People just kind of need help pulling along. So, I mean, you have that ship, it may need a tugboat to kind of pull it in there and get it to where it's going. But that's what leaders do, and that's okay. And it doesn't mean that people are bad people because they don't possess those skill sets. But sometimes we have different rigid personalities and we don't know how to communicate to them. You know, I have a daughter that if I tell her something to do, she's going to look at me and go, "What do you mean?" But if I say, "Hey, you know, I'd like you to do this. And just so you know, when you don't do this, it kind of hurts my feelings." When I deal with her through feelings, she understands. But the dictator in me and the military person, me in the car,
Sure.
is just like, "Hey, I need you to do this right now."
Yeah.
But if I
Yeah,
would have just took a moment,
feeling's not something I normally use before when I was running dealerships. I used to always say, save your feelings for your therapist. But in reality, the right way should have been, hey, let's talk about how you feel. Because the one thing that you should not, and I love that you approach it from that way as a parent, because I try to approach it that way just in talking to people, is express how I feel about it. And you can't tell me that I'm wrong about how I feel, because I would never tell you you're wrong about how you feel. Now, we may not agree on how each other feels about a certain topic, but that don't make anybody wrong, man. So using the feelings makes a lot more sense to me. Let me ask you though, where's that blend in being a manager of adults and adult people? How do you get that? I mean, because you got to be able to blend a little bit of that David military, a little bit of that David feeling. How do you balance that, man?
well, you know, a lot of times it's just a stroke and reverse technique on certain things. You know, if you're asking somebody, you know, "Hey, I need your help with this, and this is why." In general, most people respect you from your title. But for me, you know, when we work an event and it's out in the rain and we're setting stuff up, I'm right there with you. You know, I lead by example. So, you know, they know that there's nothing that I'm ever going to ask you that I won't do myself. So that helps me with getting to people. Now, I will go into a feel felt found technique that, "Hey, I need you to do this." I've often found that this is the best way to approach that. And I think that together we need to do it this way. A lot of times they just do it. Now, most of the time with my staff, they're empowered, you know, in the marketing group. I mean, you know, we have a social manager, we have a graphic designer, we have photographers in that group. We have a lot of creative people that can do all kinds of amazing things with video and editing and website design and landing pages.
I've seen it, man. I've
Help
seen
people.
the video work.
They,
You guys do a great job with
they
it, and
get it done.
I imagine it's a big part of what they do. But again, I want to stress to people who are watching, what David has mentioned already today between a mental health expert on file as well as the size of his marketing department. The common thread here is, folks, that not everyone in your dealership's got to be a selling employee. Okay, I know a lot of you struggle with the concept of having people who aren't responsible for a direct sale, but I am telling you, the marketing department's creativity in video leads to people's interest in their brand, subsequently leading to car deals. The mental health expert they have on file is helping their people get through shit to make them better at their job. So I want people to really take a step back. I know we're in a world of, you know, don't need as many employees, not going to sell as many cars. BS. You need the best employees doing the best job possible. And the only way to get there is to support them and to be there for them, but they won't all sell cars.
No, and not everybody. I mean, here, I think in a dealership, you have to take the advantage that everybody's in the business of selling and servicing the customer.
Yes.
And we're all in sales in one way or another. So everybody is important. It doesn't matter if you're emptying the trash, if you're detailing a car, if you're changing oil. It doesn't matter if you're in marketing or you're in sales. But the other day, they're like, "Oh, it's a website." Someone said to me, "It's a website." "Oh, that's your job." And I says, no. At Motorworks, it's everybody's job. Everybody is empowered to police that website and make sure. And if there's a problem, you just communicate it and we'll address it and get it fixed.
Yeah.
There's no, "Hey, Dealer Inspired did this," or "that digital retailing tool or KBB did this." Doesn't matter. We just fix it and we move on because we want the best overall experience for the customer. But we also want things that are easy to use. So you're empowered to just come to us and say X. Now, when you have communication and you don't have these silos and pointing fingers, and you have leadership who have open doors and want to get to know things, and they're customer centric, but they're employee centric. You can't have really one without the other. You got to be employee centric. And you got to care about them for them to care about the customers too, because they have to know that you care about your customers a lot, but you care about them a lot. And in order to take care of the customers, everything has to be through communication. I am not the biggest communicator, ironically. The hardest thing for me to do is stand in a room and talk to people. Okay. It's always been a difficulty, but it's what I do as a job because I believe in doing the things that are hardest first. But, for me, you just give me a task, I go with it, I run with it and do it because that's the way I am. I don't need a thank you.
No.
I just, my gratitude is when the team's winning, I'm happy. When the team's losing, it's my fault. It's not theirs. And we're going to train and we're going to refigure out and go back to the drawing board. Now we've had an amazing past couple of years. I mean, everybody's like, oh, COVID and this and that. And I'm like, COVID's been a blessing in a sense, because we're selling more cars, we're servicing more cars, we're doing things more efficient, we're doing things better. We don't have a traditional BDC. The salespeople kind of handle the leads. They're empowered to handle it. Our BDC really just handles our calls and they do a wonderful job of follow-up. So, we have an ownership who sits in meetings and looks at the closing ratios and how we can improve. And we kind of see when our people are off and when our lead sources are off, what to do and what to expect. Our managers are at the point when they see lead volume off, the first thing we do is, well, let's test the lead portals. Let's test their phone numbers. We have a protocol to kind of follow when things drop off. And we have certain people that kind of raise those red flags of traffic's off, or our reviews are down this week, or service is off. Well, let's see why. But we're constantly checking to improve things for our staff, for our customers. And it never stops. We were talking about that in marketing. I'm like, guys, it never stops. We're never going to rest. We're going to pre-plan. We need to know how we're going to structure next year. I said, I understand. In fact, this conversation started in October. We started planning for all our events in October every year. But it's the same thing goes with everything we do in marketing. When we talk in marketing about events, it's one thing. But when we talk about things for sales and service, we have a plan. We know that for Black Friday, we're going to put out an email blast. We're going to do a social post. We're going to do some Google dollars behind it. We know when we build a banner with specials for a website that our pay-per-click and our TV commercials and our YouTube guys, sorry, Sean.
You're all right.
Bugged. My wife went outside and I know somebody's walking by. And having 3 dogs, they're big white Great Pyrenees, so they're herding dogs, which you're probably familiar with them. Yeah, they just they police the house and go room to room and check on everybody.
That's comforting to have, dude. Well, look, man, you've been really gracious with your time. While we wrap this up, I like to try and dig in a little bit and get people to kind of help those around them, right? So what advice would you give to folks who are struggling with culture or trying to improve it? What stepping stones would you give them as advice as to what to do to get that on the right track?
Don't just have a meeting to have a meeting. Have a plan when you're going to get together with people, empower people, be very transparent, but be genuine. Be genuine with your employees, be genuine with your customers. And always just invest the time to just sit down with people and ask, hey, what's going on? What could we do better together? How's it going? Just those simple things of encouragement throughout the day. You don't know what's going on in their life, but you got to keep everybody positive and focused. And you got to get people to know a little bit about you, and you got to get to know a little bit about them. And you just need to build that common bond. And you need to let people know that you care. And
you make it sound so simple. And I'm someone who hears no meetings for meetings, and I am a fan of that, man. I am anti-meeting as it gets. As a matter of fact, the whole point of my company is to get rid of all those monthly meetings that dealers have with vendors and waste their time. We boil it down to 6 minutes worth of video, and we take care of the jobs of 10 vendors, because to us, it's easier than they make it out to be if you're looking at things a certain way, right? And I look at things the exact same way for every client across the country, every single month. I've been doing it now for 9 years. People say, Sean, the data changes. No, it doesn't. How people feel it changes. Where they get it from changes. But the analytics that I look at, nothing's changed about that. There's still on websites, conversion elements. This is not any different. I know it wants to feel different because instead of a coupon, you added a DR tool. Well, it's just another widget with a click. We still need to understand the click, right? So there's always more to it, but simply put, caring about people and telling them you care, man, that seems like just anybody who's out here struggling with it. If you really want to get started, David just gave you the simplest step. And honestly, if people would apply that to humanity, man, we would be on our way. If people would just say, care a little bit more about the person next to you. David, man, thank you so much for joining us today. You have been tremendous. I appreciate the fact that you have been as open with us as you have about such an incredible culture over there at Motorworks.
I appreciate you having me on. Thanks again, Sean.
You're welcome, man. Everybody, you can find David Rozek. He is on, he's on LinkedIn. That's where I find him. Normally, I'm sure he's all over everywhere else. And if you need crypto advice or meta, it sounds like meta real estate advice, because I am hearing that's a big thing.
Open it up an NFT site.
And NFTs, which, David, I'm trying to they're going to release some Jerry Garcia NFTs. I'm extremely interested in, but I have no idea what that means. So I'm going to you up later and talk about it.
Give me the link. I'll tell you how to buy it.
We'll do it, buddy. Thanks a lot. Everybody, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. Next week on the show, we're going to try and get into a little bit different area than we've been in, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you so much. Have a great week.
Take care.